did I trust anybody else? I was putting on an act in a certain way, right? A front, a mask. I got this. Asking for help would be something that would break that persona or look. I didn't want to appear weak. While on the inside, I probably was.
You're a man living in the modern world in a time when men and manhood are not what they once were. You live life on your own terms. You're self-sufficient. You think for yourself and you march to the beat of your own drum. When life knocks you down, you get back up because in your gut, you know that's what men do. You're a badass and a warrior. And on the days when you forget, we are here to remind you who you really are.
Welcome to Sovereign Man Podcast, where we aim to make men masculine. Again, I'm your man, Nikki Ballou, and we have a great guest lined up for you today, Lee Rosen. Welcome to the show, Rosen.
Hey, Ballou, good to see you.
Good to see you, man. So, Rosen, you and I, we've known each other a long time. You've been involved in the work of men for years, possibly even decades would be a better way to put it. And you were actually one of my earliest instructors in certain programs about how to be a better man, how to elevate my game as a man. Why don't you start by telling us your backstory of how you got into this work of men and what's made you decide to stick with it?
Great. So almost 2 decades. I'm one year short of 2 decades.
Cool.
And at that time, I was mid-40s, typical midlife kind of thing, working really hard in the wrong direction by not knowing it. And the harder I worked, the more difficult my life became. Like, more difficult it was to manage things. And my response to it at the time with the tools that I had was just to work harder, until a point where I reached a limit where it's just not sustainable. And my wife, who's an amazing woman, brought that point up. This is not working the way it's going. And that's the only time I reached out for help, where I thought my relationship was going to fail. My priorities being my relationship, my kids, and my job and providing. And my world got really small at that point in time. I was getting illnesses, laryngitis, sick with strep, constantly, almost always on antibiotics, because my world became very small. And my response to it was do it alone and work harder. And so I started seeing somebody. This somebody did men's work, and at one point he invited me to his team meeting, and I was like, respected this person, probably the only person I at the time trusted. And I went, and he offered me a program, which was a Sterling Men's Weekend, and I jumped into that. And that's 19 years ago. Since then, just for the amount of internal stress I had, just by doing that, and not working harder, but paying attention to what's really going on inside me. In the last 19 years, I've only got sick once, where I used to get sick, monthly with strep or laryngitis, again, all using my voice and things like that. So that was the entry door in. And once I did that, I realized how the energy I got from giving back to others, and that what this has done for me, it's like there's millions of men in the same situation I was, which was no place to go, with no resources, and health at risk. I knew at the time I wasn't going to make it into my 50s. And that's just the way it was. Just not going to do it, and I'll die giving it my best. So I learned new tools. I learned, at that point, I learned that there's other men out there. There's, you could ask for help. Didn't have to do it alone. And that changed my world. So I wanted to give back at that time, Ballou, at that time, I wanted to give back and say, and everybody should have the option to get this. If you're ready for it or not, that's one thing, but everybody should have the option to know that there's an alternate path.
Yeah. You said something here. This phrase that you used was do it alone and work harder. Why do you believe so many men adopt that as their mantra in life?
I know for me, and I don't know if I can't speak for the others, and from what I see, maybe it's like, that was just the way it is. It's like, I have a certain amount of responsibility. This is my responsibility. So I'm going to take care of it. And then the other part of that was, did I trust anybody else? Like I was putting on an act in a certain way, right? Putting up a front, a mask, a face to, I got this. Asking for help would be, um, something that would break that, persona or look. So in order to do that, I had to really trust somebody. And that group was real small, almost, one or two people.
So most men adopt the mantra, do it alone and work harder because they don't trust anybody else.
Yeah. Is that your words or are you thinking, that's
That's what I'm drawing from what you're saying.
yeah, that
Because
was
you're not
my
the only man who does this, right? This
yeah.
is
I'd say it's common. And that was definitely the case for me. Like,
you've worked with a ton of men. Have other men
yeah.
said this to you?
Um, I don't recall it as much as them saying it. That was the feeling I got. Like by them, what would occur to me is as I work with them, they would open up and start trusting, and the world got bigger. I never went back to like find out the root cause of things in most people, but by trusting others, you're risking more, and being able to handle that risk. A lot of times it works out well. Sometimes trusting doesn't always work out well for you. But the idea of trusting is still a strength, right? You're able to take risk.
You know, a life without trust is a rough life.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And why do you think men don't trust people?
I think there's something inside of us. It's a sign of weakness, right?
Mm,
I mean, that's the way it was for me. Reaching out to others, depending upon others is a sign of weakness, perhaps. I didn't want to appear weak. Well, on the inside, I probably was, right? I was faking a lot of it at the time. And then, this type of work had me build myself up from the inside. So it was, the ability to start removing that persona and that mask is what I got a huge amount of value from the work.
I had a guest on the show a couple of years back. His name is Dr. Robert Glover. Do you know who he is?
I heard the name. I don't know who he is, though.
He wrote a very famous book that sold tens of millions of copies called No More Mr. Nice Guy.
Oh, yeah, I've heard the book, sure.
Yeah. And Dr. Glover said to me that most men are craving masculine only spaces and they don't even know it. And when he said that, that hit me like a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
Because I go, yeah, that's me. That's me.
Oh.
That's freaking me. I love women. Women are awesome. Women are freaking awesome. I love my woman. She's super awesome. But there are times where I don't want to be around women. I want to be around men, and there's something I learn from being in a masculine only space. There's something I get, a sense of belonging, a sense of community that's not possible in a mixed space.
Mm-hmm.
And when Dr. Glover said that to me, it made me instantly understand why so many men are seeking men's group. So many men are seeking programs like the Sterling Men's Weekend, which is now itself split into at least 3 splinters since Justin Sterling passed away. But I think the reason I do what I do is, like you, I get energy from teaching men, from giving to men, from uplifting men, from seeing men succeed at a higher level. And I think most men, if they had an opportunity to experience that, wow, they'd want to do a lot more of that in their own life. They'd want to give to other men. They'd want to be a part of community with other men. They'd get energy from being around other men.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for me, Nikki, it was like what Dr. Glover said was really brilliant. And I wouldn't have known that beforehand. Like even if I had heard that, oh, you're craving, what you're really doing is craving environments with other men.
Yeah.
And for me, that means, oh, I could be freer. I could be less of my guard can be up. I could be more of myself instead of putting on an act and a persona to the whole world.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't have understood it. It wasn't until I was invited by somebody I trusted. And inside there was something like, and he actually, I wasn't invited initially. It was like he talked about his men's team, and I was like inside thought, wow, that is really a cool thing to have.
That sounds cool, right?
Yeah. And then a couple weeks later, he said, we're meeting next week. Do you want to come? And I was like, hell yeah.
Hell yeah. So Rosen, men hear us talk about this and they go, okay, give me some specifics. How's your life specifically better? They say, if you're married, is your marriage better? Is your wife having more sex with you more often than she used to before this? If you're not married, are you getting better quality women in your life? If you own a business, has your business grown? If you work for somebody, have you been promoted? Are you healthier? Give me the specific benefits that you've gotten out of doing this work. And so I want to ask you, what are some specific things you've noticed that have improved for you as a result of participating in this type of work?
This runs so deep. I need just a second to get my thoughts to make it not a long rambling rant.
It's okay, man. Ramble away, brother. You're not on trial here, and I'm not looking for you to answer the questions like you're a lawyer in a courtroom. Just tell me what's going on. Tell me what you've gotten out of doing this work, because I'm going to tell you what I've gotten once you're finished telling me what you've got.
Oh my goodness. I got my life back. I remember thinking I was so busy I couldn't go to get a cup of coffee, right? I didn't have enough time to go to a coffee shop, step out of my car and get it because I was that busy. So, I saw a slogan once that was like, a man was wearing a shirt, you're either the hammer or the nail or something like that. And I felt like I was always the nail in life. I was getting beaten by the hammer. And what that meant to me, I just wasn't in control. I was always walking around trying to adjust to or fix the situation. I was at the effect of my circumstances. In a short weekend and then being on a team and then going down that path, I realized that, I was somebody that can handle the circumstances. Like I could alter them. I wasn't the effect of them. So it became, and what that led to was lots of opportunities, right? So there was an infrastructure to support a men's team, and then there's a tribe above that and a region above that, and there's roles to play. So I dove head on in giving time into that work. And probably the crux of this, Nikki, is for me was it seemed the more I gave, the more my life started to work better. So it was almost the opposite. It's like a spiritual law. The more I gave to something else, the more my life started to work better. My wife saw me working at a higher level and she supported that, even though it meant less time for her. So as I started to become a leadership trainer, as I started to put on programs, as I took on more work outside the home and outside of making money, it created an energy, an environment where things started improving all over. So I was performing higher at work by working less, but working at a higher level. I was showing up at home, less time, but when I showed up, I was fully present and fully there. And what did that come out to? So if you want to come out to like results at the end of this, doing that for 20 years, for me, it came out with, I've been married for 30 years, same woman, wonderful relationship, and we've made multiple moves and exploring life and doing new things together. At work, I had gotten 2.5 times the money I had, and so rewards were coming in. And in the men's work, I got opportunities to improve myself, and in a certain sense, it was like free training. The more responsibility I took on, I got great feedback. If I messed up, people noticed it. I worked with high-level people, and they would call me out on that and bring that to me. In a sense, it was free training, and I got to take those tools and apply them at work, at leadership at work. It felt like when I had work to do at work, it was easier than the men's work because I've done so much in the men's work and worked with so many people that worked at a high level that the training I got here was applicable to work. It was applicable to family situations. And not everything was perfect. There's a lot of rough stuff, but it had me show up with much more depth, much more caring, much more love, and great experiences. You know, um, we put on conferences. I got involved with people that I never would have met. Conferences for men and masculinity that for a number of years, and podcasts. So I've a lot. You know, it's hard to put it all into one thing, but experiences that was able to take my wife on, and she was able to participate and volunteer, and we do things together, all for good cause.
Dude, that's all supercalifragilisticfantastic. Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, doing this work has made me um, become a better leader. I've been able to lead more people effectively, and it has taught me how to develop other people into leaders as well,
Mm,
which is a powerful skill set. Um, God, I increased my income tremendously, multiple fold. And my relationship with my ex-wife, you know, I wasn't able to put that back together. But I got the best ex-wife relationship anybody I know. I went on a vacation with her and the kids, and then one with her and the kids and my new woman. And
mm,
that's not something that would have been possible without this type of work, and it forced me to step up my game from a health and fitness point of view as well, which is good. And there's a thing we say in this work: how you do anything is how you do everything, right? And for me, this is an area where I really work on having my standards be at a nice high level. And raising my standards in one area has me raise them in every area. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Any man who steps into the work of men will, if he takes it on for real, will over a period of years notice that he is a completely better, stronger, more effective man with better results in his life than he would otherwise be able to be. That's what I see the value of the work of men.
yeah, fully agree.
Yeah. So you've been leading a lot of workshops and trainings. Talk to me about that. First of all, why do you do it? And second of all, why do you think these workshops and trainings are valuable for men?
Um, why do I do it? I kept on taking opportunities that were there. I was definitely not the type of person, I had to give presentations at work uh, early on. It was horrifying. I look back and I was trying to put up a mask and a persona and portray an image, and on the inside didn't have a lot of confidence. So it was horrifying. For me, when the opportunity came on to be a leadership trainer in the men's work, that was scary. Like, I looked at the people before me, and they were highly skilled, confident presenters. So I took it on for two things. One, I wanted to give back most, and secondly, I knew I would get skills over time and be much more comfortable with that. And over the process, be engaged with um, higher level people that have done the work for a longer period of time, done the self development work for a longer period of time. So it was a joint thing. I knew I was going to get something, increase my skills. And I had a great love for, again, going back to the point where I made that transition from doing it by myself to not knowing that there were even other opportunities like this out there. I didn't know there were men's teams. I didn't know there were weekends that you go through a process. So the other part was just to create opportunities for others.
Yeah. So why do you think men should do these types of trainings?
Depends where you're at in your life, if you're ready for it, right? There's a lot of people that come to circles that are not ready for it. Unfortunately, most people that I've seen get ready for it when things are bad enough, and that was my case, when
Yeah.
things get god awful enough where I need to look for something else on the inside, I need help, right? That's when there's an opportunity and they'll open up. In the most cases, and then there's also a strong group of men that are always like, yeah, I'm in. So if they see it, they're just jumping in. I definitely was not that type of person. So it depends where the person's at. And what I learned over the years, I think when I first started, like, I knew it was great for them, and I was aggressive in, like, you need to do this. And I backed far away from that. It's like, if there's an opportunity for you to do this, then go ahead and do it. Sometimes some men need a little bit more of a leaning on, but it's a little bit of magic to know when to give them room and when they need just a little bit of push to jump into something would could make their life better.
It's interesting. Um, I've been very effective at enrolling a lot of men into doing men's weekends and into coming into our community. And people marvel at that sometimes, and they go, "How do you do it, Baloo? How do you get so many men to do their weekend? How do you get so many men to do this? Like, you must be really pushy, right?" And I look at them and I go, "Pushy? What do you mean by that?" "Well, you push people to do something maybe they don't want to do." I go, "No, I don't push anybody to do anything they don't want to do. I take a stand, and I don't back away from the stand. But any push anybody feels is the press of life circumstances that are too horrific for them to face, like a man. That's the only push or pressure they feel." And men come to me and they go, "Yeah, but you don't care if they say yes or no." I go, "I care very much if they say yes or no. The only thing that I don't put up with is no answer."
Mm.
When men say yes, that's great. They do this work, that life will change. When men say no, that's great. They made a choice. They made a decision like a man. I just don't let them do anything else other than choose yes or no. And
Yeah,
a
that's
lot of people have a problem with that. They freak out at that. And I'm like, well, that's because you're really not a man and you don't understand what it is to be a man. A man should be able to say yes or no to a choice that's put before him with no apology for the answer, no explanation, just yes or no. When we invite men to Sovereign Man, we have a Zoom circle every other Thursday evening, right? And if you're a guest, whether you've done this work or not, once the main meeting's over, I ask you as a guest to stick around. And I'll then say, "I've got 2 questions for you." And you'll go, "Shoot, what are they?" I go, "Question 1 is, did this resonate with you?" And if they say, "No, it did not," the next words out of my mouth is, "I really appreciate you coming here. Thanks for your time. You can go." And people go, "What?" I go, "Yeah, I honor a man's no. I honor a man's yes. The only thing I don't honor is a man's wishy-washy, pussy, ghosting fear. I treat him like he's a man. I don't treat him like he's a frightened little boy." And that's why I'm so effective in enrollment, because the men that are around me see that I'm not vested in their yes or no. I'm vested in their life getting better. And a whole bunch of men end up trusting me and doing this because they see that. Then the reason these fellas don't enroll as many men is because when they actually do enroll, they're so vested in getting them to say yes, they can't deal with it. So they go, "Okay, I can't do that, so I'm not going to say anything." Both of those are pretty fucked. Excuse my language.
Mm. Yeah, and it's a road for a lot of men, right? I think society teaches them to be a certain way, right? Not to cause conflict, not to be disruptive, and it's a road to learning for a lot. So to go away with a hard line of yes or no, that's a great learning, and even that it may be attractive to, because I think men like that environment. No bullshit. Is it yes or no?
Yes or no?
Yeah. So there's great learnings for the number of people that go through it and are being, step to the line. Are you in or out?
Yeah. And honestly, that's why I've enrolled so many men into this work, is because once I'm with that man and I'm present with that man gets that I'm not trying to force him to do anything. I'm taking a stand for him to have his best life if he chooses to go down that road. But if he chooses to not go down that road, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
And that's what I know you. I mean, at the bottom, you care, right? You care and you see something in that man that can be great. This is my observation of you, Blue.
Yeah.
Right. And you I wouldn't say relentless, but you care enough to go there, especially
Yep.
when it's uncomfortable for a man to say no. Like a lot of men, I'll think about it.
No.
Times in your head,
We don't do that. I'm like, there ain't no thinking
I'll get
about it,
back to
dude.
you.
It's yes, it's no. There ain't no thinking about it. I tell them
And my,
about it. You've
my
been here, you've experienced this. You want to experience it again or not? Be straight with me, bro. Don't give me no crap. Don't tell me none of that bullshit. Be a man and say, yeah, I want to come back, or say, no, I don't. And if he can't make that decision, I take it away from him. I go, okay, I'm making it a no for you. Thanks for coming. And they're
good.
freaking out when I do that. There's dudes who said, no, that's not what I meant. I go, then what did you mean?
That's great.
A couple of them go, okay, I guess I'll do it. I'm like, good. Don't mess around, right? And then there's dudes who've said, yes, I'm in, and then they end up not showing up. Now, that's a way smaller number, but it also speaks to a weakness in the spirit of that man, because he doesn't know how to say no when he wanted to say no, but instead he lied and he said yes when he meant to say no.
Yeah, and we're all a product. Like, I don't make those people wrong, right? We're all a product of how we were raised, and we learn survival skills to get through the world. And, some of those skills are like, they're not good qualities. They may not have integrity to them. So all these things are great learning experiences. If you do say yes and then they ghost you and they never show up again, it's like, okay, there's a lot to learn for that person about what they did.
There really is. There really is.
And you and I have different styles, and I appreciate your styles. Like, at certain points, I like to grow into your style in a certain way. I had one person who I brought to a meeting and asked him, if he wanted to join, and it was, and he drove 3 hours to get to this meeting, and it was, so he was committed, and he said, yeah, I'm 90% in. I said, okay, well, all right, when will you be 100%? I'll let you know. So I called him back, and he was 95%, and then he was 99%. And I said, what is the 1% that you have to make a decision on? And I already knew he was in, so I didn't need to apply. I knew he was going to go. But for me, it was just curiosity. What is the 1%? And he said, oh, I'll call you tomorrow and let you know. But for me, if it's a yes or no, but he wouldn't describe it. But that's the way the person was, a very cautious person, a very in your head type person. And I gave him room to be himself. And, I appreciate what you're able to do is you close that gap. But I think for that person, it would have sent him away. He wouldn't.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
None whatsoever. And if they don't like my style, I got no problem with them not liking my style. They don't need to like my style.
Yeah.
It's not about my style. There's a standard we have. And our standard is, even from the jump, we're going to treat you like a grown-ass man and not like a child. It's up to you to choose whether you're going to accept that standard for yourself or not. But if you don't belong here. You don't belong in this environment. This is an environment where our standards are constantly being elevated, not watered down. And because our standards are constantly being elevated, men want to stay. In the past, we would make so many damn exceptions. Our standards were so watered down.
Yeah.
So we get a whole bunch of men in and we get a whole bunch of men out. And that doesn't work. It's bad. So, and the truth of the matter is, our organization, Sovereign Man, I don't run it by myself. I have a high council. There are 6 men on that council, and I'm one of 6. Now, I get the final say. But if all the other men on the team, on the high council, are against something I'm for, or for something I'm against, I'm not going to overrule them just because I have the final say. I want to understand their reasoning. I really go deep into their reasoning. I go, well, maybe I'm wrong. But if I'm not wrong and they're wrong, I don't have a problem overruling them. And I've had a couple of them get their shorts in a knot about it. All right. A couple of them quit. And I said, look, I appreciate your point of view. I heard you out, but you need to think of me as the president and you as a cabinet secretary.
Yeah.
And if you can't accept that, and he goes, well, you're not the president. And I go, well, actually I am. Actually, I am the president. You are the cabinet secretary. You get a big say. And you can make arguments, and I'm open to you winning. I don't need to win all the time, but if I feel I'm right, I'm gonna overrule you. I'm not gonna not overrule you just to spare your tender feelings. I'm not gonna overrule you just to show you I'm boss either. I don't want to be that man, but I'm not gonna not overrule you because you're upset or you're gonna be mad or you're gonna leave. That sort of thing can't exist in a leadership team. We can't have my ego being out of control. We can't have the people on the council's ego being out of control. The egos need to be in check in service of the mission we're trying to do. And right now, like, besides myself, there are two other very, very senior men on the High Council. And when they speak, I listen. Like, I'm like, okay, these dudes see things in a way I don't. So I'm going to shut the fuck up and I'm going to listen to what they have to say. And 95 times out of 100, I'll go along with what they have to say. Well, then there's the 5 times where I won't, you know, and because they too have their foibles, just like I have mine. I got to watch my foibles. I know that it's easy for me to lose my cool. And that's what I've been working on, not losing my cool quite as easily. And I've made a lot of progress in the last little while. But, you know, there are times where I'm in the meeting and I shut up and I say nothing because there's a matter being dealt with that I'm likely going to lose my cool over. And if one of these other men handles it and I'm just watching and biting my tongue, it'll be handled in a better way.
Yeah.
And that's important. That's important. That's why having a high council, having a leadership team is important. Building this organization with Baloo and nobody else would be a disaster, would be an utter, total disaster. But I believe with the high council we currently have, we're at around 24 men right now. I'm very confident we'll get to 100.
That's great.
The current structure we have. Very confident. I don't know how long it'll take, but I'm confident we've got the chops and the goods to get to 100 men. Now, once we're at 100 men, I think we're going to need a different makeup of the High Council to get us to, say, 1,000 men, to get us to 150 men even. And my vision is I'd like to see us at 10,000 men. I like to see us at 10,000 men. And I like to be the one in charge of those 10,000 men, but there's no way I can do it all myself. We've got to be able to break things down to the point where people can do things. And once we're at 100 men, I'm thinking we're going to start doing events for these men, you know, that we can attend, right? Like regular events. Once we're at 1,000 men, we're going to do an annual freaking retreat, a men's retreat somewhere, you know? And God, I'm just excited about that. And I'm excited about the fact that there's good men that are willing to give their time to help me grow this thing.
Beautiful. And you know, point to what you mentioned earlier, it's like keeping the standards high and making it tough is real attractive. When standards low, as you said this earlier, when standards get lower, makes it less attractive, and you start accommodating others. And a lot of people aren't drawn to invest in their time into that type of environment. You can get that pretty much anywhere with the guys on your street or your bowling team or whatever. You could get that type of environment anywhere. So I'm sure with that attitude of keeping standards high, making it a good, strong environment, it'll draw that number.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Mr. Rosen, it's a real honor to have one of my early instructors in this work come and share his wisdom with me. I just want to thank you for taking the time to come here and be here with us today and share your genius.
Oh, thank you very much, man. It's good seeing you, and I'm really good to hear all the good work you're doing. It's like you're changing lives, which you've been doing since I've known you, which is probably getting close to 15 years.
It is. It's getting up there. That's
it's amazing. A lot of lives you've been changing. Good work, man.
Thank you. God bless you, sir. Have a great day.
Take care, brother.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Sovereign Man Podcast. If you're ready to take charge of your life and become the man you've always wanted to be, we invite you to join the movement at sovereignman.ca.